This White House is doing absolutely everything they can to stop this person from communicating what the public needs to know to the public in a meaningful way so that we can evaluate it. I do not think they will succeed because in this case, the White House is in isolation and in a meaningful way in opposition to the Congress that feels their prerogatives are being stepped on by this. And that's quite unusual in the context of whistleblowing. Typically, we see all three branches of government align against the whistleblower. In this case, because the at least alleged bad behavior is so bright line clear, and because the White House is trying to deny Congress access to the complaint more so than the public itself.
All right, now look, I'm going to ask this question, and then I'll give you like a minute to figure out the answer. Just take a look at what he's looking at. Consider the earpieces and consider what he's saying. Just take that all in consideration. And then I'll tell you what bothers me.
I think there are enough people who will go to bat for whoever this person is that they will end up all right. And that's actually a wonderful thing. It's not enough, and whistleblowers are today and will remain, unfortunately, a vulnerable class until we fix the broader system. But the most alarming part of what we see in the treatment of this person today by the White House is what every White House does. They try to make the conversation not about the allegations. They try to make the conversation about the source of the allegations. They want to talk about the whistleblower rather than the government's own wrongdoing. And we need to have access to the facts, and we need to hear this person out. Because it doesn't matter the provenance of an allegation. What matters is the proof of it. Is what this person is alleging to be true, in fact true? And if it is, what are we going to do about it?
So, what are we going to do about it? All right, here's what bothers me. Now, he's fine. I mean, Snowden is, he's an actor that is coming out as if he has come against the intelligence agency, and he's still alive to talk about it. And they always compared him to if the other, what is his or her name? I'm not sure what. Here it is. They always compared it to him. I mean, wait a minute. What is this person's name again? I heard it before.
So much mistreatment of whistleblowers here. And the question that we have to ask is why? Don't we need, as a public, to understand what the government is doing? Does not the press, there have been academic articles published for years, and there was actually one just published today, looking back through previous cases of, for example, NSA whistleblowers who did go through this process, and they had their lives destroyed.
What is he looking at?
They lost their careers, they lost their homes.
When he looks down.
In some cases, they lost their families because of the stress and retaliation and consequences they faced. Some of them lost their freedom. Chelsea Manning right now is sitting in prison.
Okay, Chelsea Manning.
We have had so much mistreatment of whistleblowers here, and the question that we have to ask is why? Don't we need, as a public...
Well, anyway, what Snowden is doing, and maybe nobody even really, it's not even a big deal. I'm just telling you what I see. This is what has always just led me to believe that everybody is reading a script or something. He keeps looking down as if he's reading something, pretending to make it look like he's kind of has notes and he's just looking down, has a really good memory. But he keeps looking up more, and you can tell what he's looking at the bottom is absolutely nothing. There's no reason to look there. because it's unnatural the way he's doing it. Therefore, there's something suspicious. I don't know if anybody actually claims that they can talk from the top of their head and they're not reading a script and or listening to a script in their ears. So as he looks up more right into the camera, which leads me to believe that, well, he always has the ear things in, that he's just listening to the script inside of his head. But why do you have to act like you're freaking reading something at the bottom when you're not? Like, why do these people do this? You're pretending you're reading at the bottom, but you're not. And then you're acting like you're just talking straight into the camera. But then you have earplugs in, which is you just listening to your own script. So pay attention again, watch, and tell me if I'm just, off.
To understand what the government is doing, does not the press require access to sources and evidence of what the government is actually doing behind closed doors, which it might not think is comfortable for the public to know, but certainly it serves the public interest for the people to know. And so in this context, right, we now have someone who's coming forward, and the reason I say this is so clean cut is more than any other fact.
And then the reason he looked up, I gotta show this again. It's just the reason he looked up at the camera, because he was acting like he was reading at the bottom. Then he looked up at the camera because that's where it looks like his words might be, and then he looks over to his right, and then looks back again. It's
comfortable for the public to know, but certainly it serves the public interest for the people to know. And so in this context, right, we now have someone who's coming forward, and the reason I say this is so clean cut is more than any other factor would act.
See, what some of you are saying right now is, so what? What the frick? Who cares? What's the big deal? There isn't one. Just pointing out how I've always been aware that something's off with these robots, that they can't just be talking off the top of their head. They don't have thoughts that come in like that, but they're really good speakers and readers and regurgitators. And he, I give it to him, he's playing the role where when you step out of the CIA, NSA, FBI, that he's witnessed firsthand that he's still alive. And you can do that and get away with it. But, you kind of get stuck in Russia. But the other person was who he was always compared to. That's why I always thought it was a man, but the name sounds like a woman. So whatever. And he's compared to that person as if, this will happen to you if you try it. So then he's stepping out. He's giving you guys faith, the ones that are on the inside that want to step out and say something. Like, for real. This is what this script is. So I'm not, just because he's an actor, I'm not saying like he's a bad person or anything. That actors are there. There's good ones, there's bad ones. It's just you got to figure out what is the message behind it. So he's just showing you guys that you can step out, and you don't have to continue on with the way things are being ran. But I just also wanted to point out that he's obviously not speaking from the top of his head and acting as if he's reading something, it just does damage. Like, for me, it's like, if you're doing that, then you're going to hide something else. If you can at least just, I don't know, just say, look, here, I'm listening to my own self in my ear. Let me speak what I've already read.
Academics find when they look at what's wrong with the whistleblowing process in the United States today is your outcome is entirely determined by the centers of power and how they respond to it. Now, we have three branches in our government, as everyone knows. You've got the White House, you've got the Congress, and then you've got the judiciary. Well, in my case, in the case of most of the consequential whistleblowers of the last decades, even going as far back, actually, as Ellsberg and the Pentagon Papers in the 1970s, they have been reporting failures that cross the branches. It's not about an individual.
Now, if you weren't aware, because it really is no big deal, but if you weren't aware of what he's doing as he's looking, like why is he doing it, then I'm pretty sure you're probably aware of it now. And they're just minor little details that I would focus on in order to read people from the outside looking in. I'm reading what you guys are doing by all of your body language. And you can't hide what you're really doing, is what I'm trying to tell you.